Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to my home, welcome to the office, and welcome to the morning grind. It is great to have you. We are now on the other side of the Cultists RPG Kickstarter campaign that closed out last Wednesday, and I have already gotten down to work making layouts for the Cultists, for the Cthulhu ABCs book. And I've made quite a bit of progress. I don't know if I will finish it today, but I could finish it in the next couple of days. And then the interior, I still have to do the cover, but working on the interior. And I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been a lot of fun. It's looking good. That's the first thing I decided to knock out, since it was the one that was kind of like the least far along, but I thought I could just do it. And plus it's got to get, it'll take a little while for the printer to get a proof of it and all of that. So I am working, and I'm going to be working on that basically a lot here for the next 48 hours. I'm just going to be here at the house working on all of the Kickstarter stuff. So I will keep everybody informed. I did notice, like when I sat down last night, I noticed more success on Facebook. On Facebook for the song You Can't Summon Cthulhu with Sour Cream and Onion. That hit 48,000 views. as of last night on Facebook. So Facebook people also are apparently enjoying You Can't Summon Cthulhu with Sour Cream and Onion. So that's going well. Had like 800 and something likes and stuff. So also getting some traction over there. So hey, today we're looking at the miniature rules for Greathelm, kind of getting back to form here on the morning grind, since we've been through all of the Kickstarter and game design for all of that. So I wanted to look at some other rules today. I have been interested in skirmish games for a while, and I was also kind of interested. I had mentioned, we hadn't really been able to get the nephews involved in a miniature game, and I kind of wondered if like a warband kind of game. Yes, Ham Pants. This is just starting. We started like 3 minutes ago. Welcome. So I hadn't been able to get the boys involved in a miniature game, although they picked up Magic and have just been loving Magic. But I was like, so why? And maybe instead of trying to do a whole game like Warhammer or the Kings of War, like my brother and I were playing, maybe some kind of skirmish game or warband game would be neat. And I love warband games. One of my favorite games has been Mordheim. I loved Mordheim. I wish they would bring that back. They brought back Old World, which I have not had time to really get into, and I don't know if I will. I mean, it's one of those things that I see pictures of people's Bretonians and so forth on Reddit, and of course they're looking great, and I wish I had more time to sit and paint miniatures. But something like Greathelm that has like 5 or 6 miniatures on the side. I've looked at a couple of different games just in passing. I've been saving them for the morning grind, looking at them in passing with like 5 or 6 miniatures, and also quick and easy to play. Now, I don't know what this is. Greathelm. I have not looked at the rules until this morning, other than just to scroll through them to make sure that I had them, basically. But it's like 5 or 6 miniatures. We'll see how complicated. They're like 3 different games that apparently are kind of around in that genre. Some kind of skirmish game / warband game, depending on how you define that. I've got my way, but 5 or 6 models, and so we're gonna see. Let's see what else is going on. That might be it. But we got Better with Bacon here. Good morning, Better with Bacon. If you're here joining us, I did put out on the subreddit for the miniature skirmishes that this was going on. So people might not see it. I just put it out before the stream started, but maybe people will be coming in or watching on replay. So welcome if you're here new from the miniature subreddit. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Mike. Good morning. And good morning, Ham Pants. Yes. Oh, the Robert says AI game update, locked doors and key generation now in the labyrinth to hinder movement. Now on the quest management need tasks for players. Cool. Oh, Better with Bacon also liked Mordheim. Yeah, there was a lot to like about Mordheim. I remember I pre-ordered this is back when you pre-ordered things at your local gaming store, and I remember I had pre-ordered the Mordheim box from the gaming store when it came out. That was and we had a lot of fun with it. We did have a lot of fun with that. All right, so let's go over here and let's bring this up. There we go. Greathelm. So this is the playtest version of the rules. This is not the final. Oh, and I put the link to the Kickstarter down below. In fact, let me bring that up first. Oh, we should breathe and sip before we get started with the main topic right now. I have ice water again this morning in the Witch's Brew mug. So let's take a deep breath, 2 deep breaths, and then 2 deep breaths, complete exhales, and then take a sip of our favorite beverage. So here we go. Let's breathe and sip. And sip. Okay, there we go. Let me bring up the Kickstarter preview page first. I meant to do that first here. Here, let's just go. Oh, Greathelm Kickstarter. You should be able to find it. Yes. Okay. I'll bring it up on screen. So you can see it had a kind of a preview of what this is supposed to do. Like, what is this game supposed to be doing? Well, let's take that down for the moment. And let's bring up the Kickstarter page. So if you want to follow it, and I think here we go. And I have followed it on just my personal Kickstarter, so I've been notified. But I'll go ahead and click the button over here on the Ravenkeep Kickstarter as well. But this says, okay, Greathelm. The purpose of this Kickstarter is to fund the print run of the Greathelm's Rulebook, 100 pages of knight micro skirmish tabletop action from Malev to Shinobi, featuring illustrations from Sean Sutter. Greathelm is a tabletop miniatures agnostic game played with dice and hand-painted miniatures. Each miniature represents a knight, heroic and heavily armored warrior ready for combat. In every game, you and your opponent each control a team of 6 knights who face off in intense close quarters fights. Rather than depicting an entire battlefield on the conventional standard table size of 2x2 or 4x6, Greathelm focuses on a much smaller play area, paper. This represents strategic slices of a much larger battlefield. Think of it as the camera zooming in on a key moment that decides the course of a larger battle happening off screen. The gameplay affects pivotal moments like breaking through enemy lines, toppling castle gates, or seizing control of siege weapons. Games are fast-paced, easy to learn, and deeply tactical. So here is one setup, basic game, 6 knights per player, and then this maybe has something to do with initiative or something over here. I don't know. So the play represents a zoomed-in view of the battlefield, where the most important action is taking place. In game terms, the play area is referred to as a scene. Scenarios can feature several scenes. Victory in one scene will move play to a new scene, progressing the narrative to the next pivotal moment in the battle's climactic end. So that's basically what this is. If you want, there's a link. I'll put the link in the chat as well. Link to the Kickstarter. But I also put it in the description. There you go. And if you just Google Greathelm Kickstarter, it does come up. So easy to find. Let's see. Okay, let's take that down. Let's go over, take a look at the rules and see what's actually going on with it. Here we go. I like the knights here. So like I said, this is just a preview here, but it says for the purpose of this preview right here, note to play testers. First off, thank you. My goal with this book is to create something you can easily learn to play from just the information in this book. There's some bits throughout the book that say see page XX, and many areas are left blank that are for pictures or art. Don't worry about that for now. This is version 1.5. Okay, it says, which didn't come out long ago, 8.7. Greetings. Since the last version of this game, there have been very little adjustments in terms of rules or balance, mostly just terminology, layout, and grammar stuff. The biggest change has been what previous people called a section is now referred to as a scene. Please post in the subreddit to share your experience. These are the things that I'm looking for. Rules, comprehension, questions, potential exploits or broken combinations with weapons and or items, feedback on weapons, feedback on armor, feedback on the campaign format, feedback on how knights are named and leveled up, feedback on how you use terrain, feedback on games with terrain, and feedback on any negative experiences you have while playing or reading. Okay, so here, hello, dear playtester. This is the forward. Thank you for reading these words. Welcome to Greathelm, a minimalistic miniatures game of knightly combat that focuses on accessibility and dynamic gameplay. It was born from the one-box war game challenge that I created in 2004. Miniature skirmish games are incredibly popular, all of them featuring small-scale battles where miniatures engage in close combat, rolling dice to resolve outcomes. Greathelm follows this familiar trend, but deliberately breaks from several genre conventions. If you're familiar with my work, you'll know I enjoy pushing against traditional tabletop norms. One of Greathelm's biggest departures is its compact play area, with each scenario taking place in the small size of a standard sheet of paper. There is no use of an elaborate gaming table. Instead, each scene in a scenario is more like a micro diorama than a typical tabletop battlefield. Building your warband is also streamlined. Rather than using point systems for equipment options or a host of different class types, you simply field 6 models. Balance in game emerges from other elements of gameplay. The classic WYSIWYG foundation is fully in effect, and how you build models is exactly how you'll use them. While many skirmish games evolve around playing a game on a single themed tabletop, Greathelm is about storytelling, and you will change the play area mid-game frequently to reflect this. You'll move through a series of dynamic scenes, witnessing your knights perform acts of heroism that will live in your imagination, much like a movie scene that you directed. Oh, so we're going to actually, so one game is actually going to be multiple scenes, it sounds like? Honestly, it feels a bit strange to release a game about generic knights battling in imagined medieval realms. Actually, that was part of its appeal to me, actually, personally. I love the look of the art here. I mean, they look like the 12th century knights of Rabivania, that type of garb, which is one reason that I was attracted to it. I forget exactly how I stumbled across this, but I was looking for, different kinds of skirmish games or something. And the art actually, and the era, the time period, was interesting to me. Instead of doing something like, a fantasy game or something. But I'm really confident in the vision of this game, and with the help of my friend Sean Sutter, I believe Greathelm taps into a space that hasn't been explored so specifically. Imagination Knights, not based in history, with a game system that's truly miniature agnostic to the point that you can play this game with virtually any set of themed miniatures. Soon you'll see that anything can be a knight for a game of Greathelm. I mean, I think that sounds great. Okay, so I think we saw this kind of stuff on the Kickstarter page. Okay. So we need an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper for the battlefield. Dice, this uses 10 six-sided dice. 6 knights per player. Markers for momentum, damage, and other effects. Measurements, measuring gauges or measuring tape marked in inches. So we are doing measuring tape measurements here. Miniatures. Greathelm is compatible with nearly any appropriately armed 28 to 32 millimeter miniatures, whether they be from historical, fantasy, or science fiction ranges. You are encouraged to interpret your existing miniature collection in exciting ways to create new backdrops for games of Greathelm. Base sizes. Greathelm was designed for miniatures mounted on 25 millimeter round bases, but you can still play the game using miniatures with other size bases. Just keep in mind the play area is very compact, so larger bases may affect how your miniatures interact with each other and with the terrain. Your knights. Okay, miniatures in Greathelm are knights. When a rule refers to a knight or knights, it means the miniatures you and your opponent controls. You always start the game with every basic game with 6 knights, but scenarios may change this number. Equipment. Knights may come equipped for battle with arms and armor that modify certain actions. Rules for equipment and armor are found in the advanced rules, page XX. Damage limit. Valiant as they may be, each knight has their limit. Each time your knight suffers damage, place a damage marker on them. When a knight has accumulated 3 damage, they are removed from the play area. Special scenarios, game rules, items, and expansion rules can alter the damage limit of knights. Knights also wear heavy armor that can protect them from damage. When knights are dealt damage, you roll a die and reference the result to see how the armor protects them. This is referred to as rolling on the armor table. Okay, so we have an armor table on page XX. Knights have to be able to identify friend and foe in the heat of battle. In the game, many rules use the term ally, allies, or enemy and enemies. Your allies are the knights you control, while your enemies are the knights controlled by your opponents. Okay. Game phases. Initiative phase, battle phase, courage phase, and then the round ends. I'm still digging, yes, this artwork here. So initiative phase, you and your opponent roll a handful of dice to determine who has initiative for the round. And I'm interested to know how that goes. Battle phase, you and your opponent take turns spending initiative dice to perform actions with your knights. Courage phase, you and your opponent test the courage of all your damaged knights. Once each phase has been played through, the round is over, and the battle either ends or goes to a new round. Okay, initiative phase. Let's see how this works. So the initiative roll establishes a strict flow of action for the upcoming round. The number of dice you roll is always 1 plus the number of knights currently under your control to a minimum of 3 dice. So the number of dice you roll is 1 plus the number of knights. Okay, so you'd start by rolling 7 to a minimum of 3. After the dice are rolled, organize them into rows of matching numbers, ordering from the highest to the lowest. The side with the most sixes has initiative and will take the first turn. As most games will involve 6 knights, you'll start off by rolling 7 for initiative. After rolling, it's a good habit to organize your dice into rows. This initiative roll resulted in the following values: 2 6s, 1 5, 2 4s, 1 3, and 1 2. Oh, that might not be right. This initiative roll: 2 6s, 1 5, 2 4s, 1 3, and 1 2. That's actually 1 1. Oh, we'll post that. So this here, I will take some notes. Where's my pen? So this is the the photo for initiative on page 12. I mean, that looks right? Or it looks wrong, rather. That's a 1 1. Okay, if players are tied for initiative with 6s, the initiative is then given to the player with the most 5s. If there's still a tie, then most 4s, etc. Continue down to find out which player has the initiative for the round. Advanced rules: momentum mulligan. On the first turn of the game, you may re-roll all of your initiative dice that are not 6s. On every subsequent turn, after rolling your initiative dice and organizing them, if there are any results you do not like, you may re-roll a single die for each of your knights that currently has momentum. This can change who has initiative. For example, if you have 5, because we don't know what momentum is yet. For example, if you have 5 knights and 3 of them currently have momentum, you may re-roll up to 3 initiative dice. Momentum is not spent to gain the re-roll. Some rules let you re-roll a die. If you do, you may use this result of the second roll, even if you consider you must use the result of the second roll, even if you consider it worse than the first. You cannot re-roll a die more than once. Okay, so then battle phase. Okay, so we've just determined initiative, and we've got this spread of different kinds of dice here, or dice with different numbers. So battle phase. After initiative is decided, play progresses into the battle phase, where you and your opponent alternate taking turns spending initiative dice on actions. The initiative dice are spent in a strict order. The highest die in play is the current initiative step. When all dice of the current initiative step are spent, the next highest die or value in play immediately becomes the new initiative step. Spending dice to perform actions. The player with initiative begins the round by spending 1 die from the current initiative step. So I guess that's starting with 6. Then they choose one of the knights to perform the associated action with that die. After completing the action, play passes to the opponent. Continue alternating actions until all dice are spent. A knight may perform multiple actions on a round, or none at all. Okay. There's no limit to the number of actions a single knight can take, so you don't have to activate everybody. On your turn, says adjusting dice. On your turn, instead of taking an action, you may choose to reduce the value of one of your current initiative dice by 1. Since each action is linked to a specific initiative step, adjusting a die can be a key tactical move to create opportunities with future actions. So instead of using a 3 for an action, Malav adjusts his die down to a 2. Okay, so we don't understand that yet. What actions you can take. On your turn, if you have any dice from the current initiative step, you must spend the die to perform the action or adjust the die down by 1. If you do not have any dice from your current initiative step, you must pass. Okay, I was wondering about that. That seemed to be how it was going to go. So if I have 3 6s and you have 2, I'm going to get 3 6 turns. You're only going to get 2 before we move down to 5. Okay, so introduction to actions. I haven't seen anything like this. This is different. Okay, so introduction to actions. If anybody's coming in from the subreddit, has anybody given this a try yet? During the battle phase, players spend initiative dice to perform actions in the current initiative step. The value on the initiative die represents the specific action knights will perform when spent. For your first games, use the introductory action list featured below. After you come to grips with game flow and how clash tests work, you are ready to play games using the advanced action list feature later in the book. The advanced action list is similar to this one, but with added nuance to consider when battling with your knights. Okay, so 6 is the run action. It says charge, move up to 6 inches and gain 2 momentum. Okay, I talked about momentum earlier, but we still don't know exactly what it's going here. 5 is walk. The walk action, engage, move up to 4 inches and gain 1 momentum. 4 is bash action, which is clash test, it says, and must be contacting enemy. It says shove. Success moves the defender up to 3 inches and they lose all momentum. Okay, so you're moving the foe here. You know, I like that. That was one of the things that I like in GURPS combat was that you've got, like you could retreat. Retreat actions were one where you take a step back, or take, a 1 yard step back and get a bonus to your defense. And that keeps the battlefield feeling fluid. I like movement to be in the battlefield. Some games you just end up with all these miniatures just like in a big mash in the middle of the board. I kind of felt like when I saw Age of Sigmar played, it was like that. That even when you're in melee, and you might even say especially when you're in melee, you still want the battlefield to feel fluid, right? So, okay, so that's interesting. So you can take control and move the opponent over here. 3, step action, move up to 2 inches. 2, fast attack, clash test, must be contacting enemy. Light melee, success deals 1 damage to the defender. Or 1, heavy attack, clash test, must be contacting enemy. Heavy melee, success deals 2 damage to the defender. Yeah, Mike says, I'm glad to see that maneuvering appears to matter in this game. And that's important too. So the things that happen first are the run, walk, bash, step, and then we've got bash before light's step, which is lunge, moving up to 2 inches, and then fast attack, and then heavy attack. I see where this is going. All right, I'm liking it. So movement. Greathelm is played using inches to measure distances. During a move action, a knight can be moved up to the maximum distance specified for that action. Knights do not need to move in a straight line. Distance is measured from the front of the knight's base before the action to the front of their base after the action is resolved. Knights cannot move through other knights and cannot pass between 2 knights or spaces that are narrower than the width of their base. However, a knight in base contact with enemy knights may move away freely or may move away without penalty. Okay. So rules for moving in and around terrain are featured in the advanced rules on page XX. This knight is moving 3 inches. When moving forward, the front edge of the base cannot be moved further than 3 inches. Base-to-base contact. Combat in Greathelm is a fast swirling melee, and knights don't get locked up in engagement with one another. Knights must be in base-to-base contact with an enemy knight to perform certain actions. Being in base-to-base contact does not impede or limit movement in any way. So B and C are in base-to-base contact. I do like these miniatures too. Classic knights. So movement. This knight's charging through a gap left by his allies. Knights can only move through spaces large enough for their base to fit through, control space to control the fight. Okay, a bash action. Bash knights have been grappled, shoved, or otherwise forced to move against their will. If you successfully bash a knight, you may move them following all the normal movement restrictions. So Knight A cleverly uses a bash action to move Knight B out of position and into base contact with Knight C. A is no longer outnumbered, and C has the option to attack where before they didn't. Okay. Oh, here's momentum. So what is momentum? All right, let's find out. Momentum. What is momentum? Momentum represents a knight's speed, aggression, angle of attack, and footing. It's an important resource that you gain and spend continuously through the battle to add bonuses to action. Gain 1 momentum when you perform an action that grants momentum every time you win a clash. Okay, attacking knights can spend their momentum to gain bonuses during clash tests when performing an action that requires a clash test and before rolling any die. You can choose to spend any available momentum. For each momentum you add or spend, add 1 to the die roll. Defending knights cannot spend momentum to gain bonuses during clash tests. So that's only offensive. So when you were gaining momentum by charging, that kind of sounds like a shock troop, or the shock value, the shock of the charge. It's represented by momentum here. So we got 1. Knight A is attacking Knight B and spends 2 momentum to add 2 to their clash test roll. 2. Knight B has momentum but cannot spend it as the defender. They gain +1 to their roll because of their shield. 3. Knight A rolls 3. Knight A rolls a 3. What happened? Where did these dice come from? So this is 2. Knight B has momentum, but it cannot spend it. Maybe that's trying to show you what the bonus is right here. And that's the momentum token. So I guess these 2 momentum tokens over here, these amber jewels, are spent to get a +2 for the attacking knight. And then the defending knight can't spend momentum, but does get +1 because of the shield. Now over here, we've got Knight A rolls a 3. So I guess this other blue die is now what they are rolling for a total of 5. B only rolled a 1 for a total of 2. Therefore, Knight A wins. Ham Pants says, for people who have tried the game, would using a 1-inch square grid work instead of using measuring sticks? I was kind of wondering the same thing. When we did, when my brother and I designed Enchantress, originally we were going to use, measurement as well, because it's a skirmish game. It's a wizard skirmish game. And originally we were going to use just measuring with the measuring tape or the measuring sticks. And we decided to not do that almost instantly. Almost instantly when we started to play test that game, we went, hey, we're going to move to hex grids. So we moved to a hex grid. But I was kind of wondering the same thing. I would like to try playing on hex. So momentum. A knight can only keep a total of 3 momentum at any time. A knight can only have 3 momentum at max. You can use gems, dice, or tokens or other from other cool games to track momentum. Just be sure you and your opponent know what your markers mean. Using knight cards can also help keep the gameplay area free from token clutter. Advanced rules, momentum dodge. If you win a clash while using the dodge defense, you may spend momentum to move your knight beyond the standard 1 inch. Each point of momentum adds 1 inch of movement. This extra movement happens after the clash is resolved and can end in base contact with enemy knights. Advanced rules, courageous momentum. You can spend any available momentum on your knight when they're taking a courage test. Each momentum adds +1 to your roll. All right, here is a clash test. Performing clash tests. Certain actions require a clash test to resolve. A clash test is a roll-off between you and your opponent to see which of your knight wins a fight. The knight performing the action is the attacker. The target is the defender. See example on page 17. If the attacker wins the clash by rolling equal to or higher than the defender's die roll, the attacker gains momentum and applies the effect of the action. The defender wins the clash by rolling higher than the attacker's die roll. The defender gains momentum and applies the effect of the chosen clash defense. So clash test bonuses. Each knight can improve their clash test results by gaining bonuses from various factors. These bonuses are added to the number rolled on the die to determine the final clash test total. The knight with the highest total wins the clash. So each momentum adds +1. We've seen that before. Okay. Each outnumbering ally for either the attacker or defender will add +1 to the roll. Okay, that's important. We saw something about outnumbering before. Weapon bonuses. Weapons can grant bonuses to clash tests when performing actions and defenses. The most common example being shields, always granting +1 to the clash test rolled when blocking. And then item bonuses can also change this up. Advanced rules, perfect clash. If the attacker and defender both roll 6 during a melee clash test, their weapons clang off each other. In this case, the clash test is immediately repeated using the same bonuses before, but with the new result determining the winner. This can happen multiple times. I guess so. You just re-roll on double sixes using the advanced rules. I guess that's. I mean, some person would. I guess if you're not using this rule, somebody would still win because they might have different bonuses. Well, I'm sure it'll tell us what happens if we tie. So outnumbering. Before making a clash test roll, check if you outnumber the enemy knight. You gain +1 to your roll for each allied knight in base contact with the same enemy knight involved in the clash. Allied knights in contact with other enemy knights do not provide this bonus. So knights A and C are outnumbering B. If A initiates an attack, they gain a +1 outnumbering bonus during the clash test, thanks to C's support. However, if knight D, okay, over here, is in contact with C, I would keep the letters over here. That's knight C. However, if knight D is in contact with C, that bonus is canceled. But crucial to note, if C were attacking B instead, A would still provide the +1 bonus. Choose your attacker wisely. Yeah, I think I'd still like to see A, B, and C over here because I think we're still over here on this figure. Or maybe we need the figures numbered. However, in figure 2, if D is in contact with C, that bonus is canceled. But critically to note, if C were to attack B instead, A would still provide the bonus. Oh, Hampant says the outnumbering rules are similar to Blood Bowl. I haven't ever played Blood Bowl. Knight A is attacking B. Knight A is attacking B and is outnumbered by C. Okay. That's I think this, I see spears and polearms. I say he's armed differently. Okay, so over here, knight C is defending an attack from B and is outnumbered by A. So spears and polearm weapons allow a knight to support their allies in base contact when they're attacking or defending. Imagine them thrusting their long weapons past the allies to harass the enemy in the melee scrum. So if knight A is attacking B, B has a friend in C because he's armed with a spear and can pass through. It's like being in base contact with A. Likewise, knight C is defending an attack from B. So B is attacking, and C is outnumbered because we got this guy with his polearm here. Okay. Clash defense. Knights are trained to react to incoming attacks. Defending knights must choose their defense from the list below before dice are rolled. The equipment a knight brings to the battle can change the defenses available to them. Block, field only, +1 to clash test. Winning a clash when blocking negates all damage. Defenders cannot spend momentum to gain bonuses, so blocking is the best way to increase your chances of survival. Okay, dodge. Winning a clash when dodging negates all damage and allows the defender to move 1 inch. Attackers can only target knights in base contact, so a 1-inch move can disrupt your opponent's plans. Parry. Winning a clash with parry negates all damage and grants the defender an additional momentum. Defenders can bank extra momentum for future attacks. So you're choosing, yes, you choose your defense. Okay. Block, dodge, parry, and riposte. Winning a clash when riposting means all damage and negates all damage and deals 1 damage to the attacker. The attacking knight will suffer 1 damage without the chance to defend or roll on the armor table. Okay. So blocking, you're increasing your chance to do that by using the shield. Hey, Stray. Good morning. Great to see you. Dodge. You're not adding anything to it, but if you succeed, then, or at least some item or something might do that. But dodge allows you to move. Parry gets you momentum, and Repostay damages the attacker. Okay, hasty rolling. If the defender wins the clash but forgets to declare a defense, the attack is considered a miss. No defense effects are applied, and the defender gains 1 momentum. Okay. Combat, dealing damage. Attack actions deal damage to knights as an effect. When the attacker wins the clash using the action that deals damage, the defender rolls on the armor table to see if they suffer the damage or if their armor saves them from damage. The armor is roll a d6. 6, impervious, a critical deflection. No damage from the attack is applied. We said, okay, if the defender deals damage only through the Repostay, so that's just a 1 point of damage without rolling on the armor table. But okay, this is the armor table. So on a 6, no damage from the attack is applied. 2 to 5 struck, it held up, damage from the attack is applied. 1 pierced, a critical strike, damage from the attack plus an additional 1 is applied. Applying damage and damage limit. To apply damage to an attack, place 1 damage marker next to the knight for each point of damage it suffers. Damaged knights continue to act normally and are not otherwise affected. So like a heavy attack could take out a knight in 1 hit if they are also pierced. Right? We had light attack and heavy attack for 1 and 2 points, right? I think I remember that from the action list. But if you are critically struck, you can go down in 1 hit. Damaged knights continue to act normally and are not otherwise affected. Knights have a damage limit of 3. If a knight accumulates 3 or more damage markers, they're immediately removed from the play area, representing the knight being too injured, exhausted, or demoralized to continue fighting. Advanced rule, gruesome deaths. Knights can suffer horrific injuries if their armor is pierced. When applying damage to a knight, if the result of the armor was pierced and the defender's limit is exceeded, and the defender's damage limit is exceeded, they are gruesomely slain. Remove the defender from the battlefield and replace them with a 25mm gruesome marker. Markers count as knights for movement purposes. So in other words, can't be moved around. Or through. Okay, so here's our clash test breakdown. Step 1. Choose an action and spend initiative die. Choose an attacking knight. Choose a defending knight. Attacker chooses to spend momentum. Add weapon bonus, add item bonus, add outnumber bonus. Defender chooses a defense, add weapon bonus, add item bonus, add outnumber bonus. Players simultaneously roll for a clash test. Step 1. Determine the winner. The attacker wins the clash by rolling equal to or higher than the defender's roll. If the attacker wins, they gain momentum, deal damage. Defender rolls on the armor table and either ignores damage, suffers damage, or suffers damage +1. And then the defender wins the clashing roll by rolling higher. If the defender wins, they gain momentum, resolve defense by either blocking and ignoring damage, dodging, ignoring damage, and moving 1 inch. Parry, ignore damage and gain momentum. Repostay, ignore damage and deal 1 damage to the attacker. Courage. I was not expecting, this is actually, this PDF is 79 pages long, so we're probably not going to be able to do the whole thing today, but we'll probably get through, I guess, these basic rules. There are probably more advanced rules. There's a lot more here than I was expecting when I was looking for, I like, okay, let's look for some light kind of skirmish games. I mean, this is great. There's a lot more rules here than I was expecting. I was expecting, like, I don't know, before I knew it was coming to Kickstarter or whatever to print, I was expecting just a few pages, because I've seen some other ones I downloaded that were just a few pages long. So this one is quite robust. So test courage. After all dice have been spent on actions, play progresses to the courage phase. The player whose knights have had the most total damage takes the test first. Every damaged knight that is in base contact with an enemy must take a courage test. If 2 players are tied for the most damage, the player with the fewer remaining knights tests first. If still tied, the scenario's defender goes first. Taking courage tests. After finding the total difficulty, roll a d6. You must roll equal to or higher than the difficulty to pass the test. If a knight passes, they remain on the battlefield. If the knight rolls a 6, regardless of modifiers, they remain on the battlefield. If the knight fails the courage test, they immediately flee the battlefield and are removed from play. You may choose for a knight to fail a courage test. At the end of the courage phase, you may choose to retreat from the field of battle and remove all of your knights from the play area. So courage test difficulty. +1 for each allied knight removed from play, +1 for each damage marker on the knight taking the test, +1 for each allied gruesome marker. Example, if you had 4 allied knights removed from play and 1 damage marker on the testing knight, the test's difficulty would be 5. So Hampants asks, if parley, dodge, and repostay ignore damage and give you a bonus, why would you choose shield or even buy a shield? No, because you get +1 to the clash test. So you have to have a shield in order to take block. And you get +1 to your clash test for just having the shield. So the shield is a +1 to your roll. And that negates all damage as well. Defenders, it says, cannot spend momentum to gain bonuses. So blocking is the best way to increase your chance of survival. Because you with a shield, you get an automatic +1 on the test, and you block all damage if you win. Whereas if you dodge, you don't get the +1 to your roll. So you're kind of rolling straight here. And you do get to move 1 inch. Parry, you're also not getting the bonus, negates all damage, and you gain a momentum. And again, repostay, you're not. So what you're doing here, either the shield is giving you the +1 result. Mike says go to page 35 for equipment, helps differentiate on what the different equipment options do. So Mike is also on top of this. So we will get there. Okay, so we were looking at courage test disabilities. If you had 4 allied knights removed from play and 1 damage marker on the testing knight, the testing difficulty would be 5. These bonuses give knights a better chance of passing their courage tests. +1 for momentum spent before the roll. +1 for each undamaged allied knight in base contact. Plus X from equipped items. Round ends. After play has progressed. So if you had 4 knights removed from play and 1 damage marker, you're trying to do a 5. And you got to roll you're equal to or higher to pass. Okay, equal to or higher. But you can spend momentum to go to help you. And then also, if you've got undamaged allied knights in base contact, that helps you. I like that. After play has progressed through 3 phases, the game round ends. Check to see if the battle ends according to the victory conditions of the scenario. Otherwise, a new round begins with the initiative phase. So, initiative phase, battle phase, courage phase, end of round. Okay, it says, your first game, 6 miniatures from your collection to fight one another. You know, I've got, this seems like, and I think I saw this on the subreddit. I think I saw someone use the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures for this. And I've got some sitting over there that I didn't base up for Kings of War, but I put them on individual bases. And I'd go grab some more of them to use. It seems like that would be those would be some fun nights to use for this. And I got a bunch of them laying around. So paper-sized play area. Select 6 miniatures from your collection to fight one another. Follow the setup instructions for the training yard scenario. Gather 6-sided dice for at least 14 for initiative and a few for rolling clash tests. Use some basic. Oh, you need more than 10 dice, right? I'm on page 26 right now, but didn't this say like what you need? This says, about 10 dice per player. Okay. Yeah, about 10 dice per player up here. Roll for initiative to begin your first fight. Your first games can also be easily played solo by making decisions and rolling dice by both sides. Weapons that your knight brings to battle is another advanced layer to the game. When you play your first games, ignore the specific weapons your knights are holding. Any knight with a shield will have a defensive bonus by being able to use the block feature, but don't use any special rules for weapons until you become familiar with the game. So we have that's like first scenario kind of thing here. Excuse me. Okay, so now we get into advanced rules a little bit. We got about 10 more minutes. So it says, okay, so we do have some more advanced like rules for the different actions. So it's 6 charge. Here's what we had: move up to 6 inches and gain 2 momentum. Must contact the enemy. Sprint, move up to 5 and gain 2 momentum, but cannot contact the enemy. Walk actions: engage, move up to 4 inches and gain 1 momentum. Must contact enemy. Encircle, move up to 3 and gain 1 momentum. Cannot contact enemy. Bash actions: clash test. Success moves the defender 3 inches and they lose all momentum. Oh, that's okay. And they lose all momentum. That's another advantage to bashing. Oh, I kind of like that. Or use an equipped item. Cannot be contacting enemies. You know, there was something when we looked at one of the new the Warhammer. It's not the new one anymore, but the new one to me. We're looking at Shadows over Hammerhall, and we were rolling dice in that. And I wasn't a huge fan of that game, but I remember there was something about rolling dice in that, and then using dice of different numbers. Does anybody remember that? I kind of do, and for some reason, that's kind of like in the back of my mind as I'm going here. It's different, but that of all the different games that we've looked at, that's the one that has something kind of similar with it. I think I can't remember. And it may not really be all that similar. I just remember like rolling a pool of dice and then using different numbers or something. You need different numbers to do different actions or something. So bash would be when you use an equipped item. 3 step actions: lunge, move up to 2 inches, must contact enemy, or shift, move up to 1 inch, cannot contact enemy. So fast attack, clash test, as a result, melee attack, success deals 1 damage to the attacker, or light range, success deals 1 damage to the defender. And then heavy attack, that's the one that comes last. So, you can die. I mean, the idea here would be, well, you can die before your heavy attack comes in. Kind of wanting to try this. Heavy attacks. So heavy attack, success deals 2 damage to the defender. Must be contacting enemy. Interact with objects or terrain. Cannot be contacting enemies. Interact. Or heavy range, success deals 2 damage to the defender. Bash actions are not attacks in the conventional sense, but they require the defender to choose a response. Think of them as attacks that deal damage to momentum rather than against a knight's damage limit. And remember, we can dice down. So instead of, you can dice down your 3s to become 2s. And I guess you can keep doing that too, right? So if you ended up with a whole bunch of bash actions, but you don't need them, you can slide down to 3 and then slide down to 2 and then slide down to 1. Advanced rules. Movement contacting enemies. In the advanced action list, knights can move an extra 1 inch if they end their movement in base contact with enemy knights. This bonus reflects their aggressive tactics and dynamic movement styles. Some of the maneuvers are offensive, aiming to engage or flank, while others are defensive, helping to protect allies or controlling space. Battle Cry. Instead of taking a normal action with a knight, you may use the Battle Cry action. To do this, spend the die as usual and choose one of your knights. That knight lets out a battle cry and immediately gains 1 momentum. Then roll 1 die for each other allied knight within 3 inches. On a roll of 4 or higher, that knight also gains 1 momentum. They may perform a battle cry twice per round. This is the best use when you want to stack momentum or when you have actions that you cannot perform. Interesting. Item action. The item action is done in place of performing a bash action. You cannot perform an item action while in base contact with an enemy. Some items bestow positive effects that are always in play, and others are used. If an item is used, it has a lingering effect that will affect the play area. Some effects of used items end after the courage phase as the knight using the item prepares a new round. Another type of item are consumables. When an item is used, it is removed from the knight after resolving its effect. Interacting. The interact action is done in place of performing a heavy attack and cannot be used if a knight is in base contact with an enemy. Each scenario will provide specific rules on how to use the knights can interact. Carrying objects. Scenarios can require the knights carry something such as an explosive barrel or a siege ladder. To carry something, a knight must perform the interact action while in base contact with it. Place a marker next to the knight to indicate they are carrying something heavy. While knights are carrying something, the only defense they can choose is dodge. Knights will immediately drop what they're carrying if they suffer damage or perform an attack action. If you drop an object, place it in base contact with the knight that dropped it. Recruiting knights. Which miniatures do you bring? Greathelm is written with consideration of how miniatures are collected. No matter how or what your miniature knights are made of, where they come from, you can bring them to the battlefield. There's no need to stress over list building. Each player only fields 6 knights. Creating your list is simple. Grab 6 models and identify the weapons they're holding. This will dictate what they can use in the game. What you see is what you get. The details of the game are built on the classic foundation of what you see is what you get. The weapons represented on the actual miniature are what the miniature uses on the game, which is keeping you from having, I guess, complicated lists of, with all different kinds of equipment on the knight, and allows the enemy to identify them as well. Arming your knights. There's no point value assigned to different weapons or items. This makes it easy to jump into the game, either by using miniatures you already own and matching them to in-game equipment, or by creating entirely new miniatures based on your own unique vision. The armory. Before deploying your knights, they visit the armory to equip themselves for battle. The armory contains all of the weapons, armor, and knights that they may equip. We would definitely want to get to the weapons and armor here. The restrictions on what you may equip will be listed on the appropriate equipment list. Knights may leave the armory equipped with a set of armor and any one-hand weapon, a shield, an item, or any two-handed weapon and an item. Stray asks, I'm not sure I can understand, is another knight considered heavy? And can I power attack someone with said knight? I am not sure what you mean. The heavy attack was an option that any of them could take. So equipment. Equipment gives knights bonuses during play. Right, yeah. So the equipment, yeah, heavy attack is initiative, takes place on initiative 1. If that's what we're talking about. So equipment lists, we got 3 types of equipments: armor, weapons, and items. Equipment profile. Each equipment type has different information and effects. They are presented the following format: armor name, armor special rules, armor bonus. Okay. Upgrades are specialized or rare versions of existing equipment that have additional bonuses. They can apply to weapons, armor, and other items. You cannot select an upgrade for a piece of equipment that your knight does not have. You can't select a reinforced shield if your knight is not carrying a shield. Okay, so resolving ranged attacks. Knights using ranged weapons must have a clear line of sight to their targets. To make a ranged attack, the attacker must be able to trace an unobstructed line from their model's head to any part of the target's body. Knights cannot trace, so that actually the miniature itself there matters. The attacker must be able to trace an unobstructed line from their model's head to any part of the attacker's body. Knights cannot target enemies in base contact with an allied knight. Knights cannot target enemies in base contact with an allied knight, and they cannot use ranged weapons while in base contact with an enemy. Unless otherwise specified, all ranged weapons can fire across the entire play area. If a weapon has a shorter range, its maximum range will be indicated on its profile. A knight with a ranged weapon can perform only one ranged attack per round. Attacks with bows are resolved by spending dice results of 2. Attacks with bows resolve by spending dice results of 2. Attacks with crossbows resolve by spending dice results of 1. I don't understand that. Defenses against ranged attacks. Defenders may choose only the dodge defense unless they are equipped with a shield, which grants them access to the block defense. Does that mean rolling? I don't understand what was under bows and crossbows here. Maybe we'll get an example. Cover against ranged attacks. Certain terrain can provide cover for knights against ranged attacks. If a knight is in base contact with an intervening defensible or barricade feature terrain, they are in cover and may use the block defense as if they had a shield. Additionally, if they lose a clash while they are in cover, they treat rolls of 5 or 6 as impervious. Additionally, if they lose a clash while in cover, they treat rolls of 5 and 6 as impervious results in the armor table when taking damage from ranged effects. Oh, okay. Mike and Ham Pants are coming in. Yes. So bows resolve by spending initiative dice results of 2. Attacks with crossbows resolve by spending initiative dice on 2. Attack on the we need some different, what's our language for here? Right. That's not the thing you're rolling to attack. I was trying to come up with something because we got ranged attack here. But yeah, I think I agree with both Mike and Ham now. He's trying to talk to you about what initiative dice to expend. Resolve by spending initiative dice results of 2. Attacks with crossbows are on 1. Okay, like how cover is handled. Okay, armor list. Knights can only wear one set of armor. When selecting knights for quick battles, all your knights must take armor from this list. So, heavy armor. Roll 1d6 on the armor table when suffering damage. Medium armor, roll 1d6 on the armor table when suffering damage, +1 to dodge defense. Armor table results of 1 to 2 count as pierced. So we had armor. Our heavy armor was the one that we were rolling on first. But if you're wearing medium armor, then you get +1 to dodge defense. But on the other hand, if your rolls of 1 or 2 will count as pierced. And then light armor, roll d6 on the armor table when suffering damage, +1 to dodge defense and +1 to move actions. But armor table results of 1 to 3 count as pierced. Representing different armor can be easily achieved by other miniatures, typically not referred to as knights. The knight in the middle doesn't have a helmet, and you could represent lighter armor in that way too. The sergeant model on the left and right are good examples of medium and light armor. Also, kind of what you see is what you get. So restrictions. Knights can wield either a one-handed weapon and shield or a two-handed weapon. When selecting knights for quick battles, all of your knights may take a weapon from either one-handed, the two-handed, or the ranged weapon list. So one-handed weapons, arming sword, +1 to light melee attack. Hand axe, cannot repostay defense, but +1 to heavy melee attack. Mace or hammer, cannot repostay defense. Successful light melee attacks may move the defender up to 1 inch. Falchion, so successful light melee attacks remove 1 momentum from the defender. Flail, cannot repostay or parry defense. +1 to light melee attack. Defender cannot repostay defense. Short spear, cannot repostay defense. Parry gains only 1 momentum. Parry defense gains only 1 momentum. Counts as an allied knight during a clash test when in base contact with the attacker. Mike says, sounds like heavy armor is king, as I'm not sure how valuable the bonus to dodge or added movement really is. I was kind of wondering that too, or thinking that too, that, you know, our heavy armor was our was our base. You know, that was our base armor. Roll 1d6 on the armor table when suffering damage. I know if I'm thinking about, would I rather get +1 to my dodge defense, but have to take the critical hit, the pierced hit on 1 to 2. I mean, heavy armor, okay, that kind of makes sense because heavy armor, you know, that's what you want to be wearing on the battlefield, right? So heavy armor is there. At the moment, I'm kind of feeling that way too. That like, oh, +1 to dodge and +1 inch to move actions. Yeah, I agree that it feels that way. Of course, I don't know what it's like in play, but I agree that it kind of feels that way. Yeah, pierced is really bad because that you've only got 3 hit points. Yeah. I'd rather not get pierced. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna look for facing. Shields, you gain the +1 to block defense. Two-handed weapons, great axe, cannot repostay defense. A +1 to heavy melee attack. Defenders without momentum cannot gain +1 to their block defense. Oh, Stray says in Necromunda. Now, man, I hadn't thought about Necromunda in a while. I have played that, but I didn't play it a lot. But I have played Necromunda. In Necromunda, heavy armor is not available at the start. You have to buy some later. You know, and that's one of the differences. Like we're talking about, what's the difference in a warband game and a skirmish game? Some people will have something to do with the number of miniatures. That could certainly be it. But when I think about warband games, I also think about actually continuing your warband. Like you continue a player in a role-playing game, that in a war. There we go. Where you're going to continue your warband, find out what happens to your warriors. Some of them are going to die. Some of them are going to get wounded. You're going to recruit new ones, and you're playing like a campaign like that, and also buying new stuff for them. So the long spear, so the long sword is +1 to light melee attack, +1 to repostay defense. And I like that he's got lots of stuff for the equipment to do. I do like that. I mean, this has got enough. There's enough meat here and options in this game that the different weapons and armor, and especially different weapons here, have a bunch of different options. I mean, I do like that. Long spear cannot repostay defense. Parry defense only gains 1 momentum, +1 to light melee attack. Counts as an allied knight during clash tests when in base contact with the attacker or defender. Messer, +1 to heavy melee attack. Successful heavy melee attacks remove 1 momentum from the defender. War Maul, cannot repostay or dodge defense. Dodge, +1 to heavy melee attacks. Successful heavy melee attacks move the defender up to 2 inches. Polearm, cannot repostay defense. Parry gains only +1 to momentum. +1 to heavy melee attack. Counts as an allied knight during clash tests when in base contact with the attacker or defender. Yeah, Mike says the equipment matters, which is good, and answers questions like, why would I take X over Y? Two-handed ranged weapons, bow and dagger. You cannot repostay defense. Gains light ranged attack. Crossbow and dagger cannot repostay defense. Gains heavy ranged attack. Items. When selecting knights for quick battles, take only 2 out of 6 knights may take an item from this list. Worn item list. And see, this is not something to be represented. Jet amulet, +1 to parry defense. Ebon rings. This kind of gets it a little bit more fantasy right here. Belt of strides, +1 to walk actions. Use item list, a banner. Okay, so use to raise the banner until the end of the turn. While the banner is raised, allied knights may reroll courage tests. Yes, messer means knife, and it comes up over my damn hip. Yes. Horn, used to blow a horn. When a horn is blown, redistribute 3 momentum within 6 inches. So that to me doesn't sound like you're creating 3 momentum tokens around 6 inches. But that says redistribute. So if you've got like guys who have momentum and others that don't, that actually seems to me like you are shuffling around the momentum tokens that are within you. You're not creating any. That's the way that it seems like that. Oh, Mike brings up a good point. They should convert this table to something that needs only D6s so other dice are not needed. Right. That's interesting that the Warren is the D12. I didn't think about that because I got all kinds of dice around. Let's see. Pen's running out of ink. Oh, well, I got a highlighter. Okay, so yeah, we got a D12 on the table. And so why is that? Because we didn't say anything about needing a D12. Lover's handkerchief, used to peek at the handkerchief and gain 3 momentum. Consumable equipment list. Oh, yep, and D8 too. Healing herb, used to remove 1 damage. Medicinal tincture, used to remove 2 damage. Alacrity tincture, used to gain +2 on your next clash test. Rose oils, gain 1 courage the rest of the scene. Upgraded items, balanced light weapon upgrade. Reroll results of 1 during clash tests. There's a lot of equipment stuff. When selecting knights for quick battles, only 1 out of 6 knights may choose an upgrade for their weapon. Nimble edged weapon upgrade. Reroll results of 1 during clash tests when defending with a riposte. Armor upgrade list. Cuirass. Reroll armor table results of 1 and 2. Coat of plates. Reroll armor table results of 2 and 3. Akaton reroll armor table of 4 and 5. Legendary items. So this is definitely this part's definitely letting you get more fantasy as well. All the equipment's letting you do that. Legendary item list. Gorgon's shield upgrade. And then we get into terrain. We've been going for a while here. Oh, yeah. We did see this thing about barricades. Barricades are man-made obstacles used to control movement, are also defined as defensible terrain. Knights can move across barricades up to 1 inch high by using walk actions. Defensible. Defensible features are points on terrain that allow knights to fight through or take behind cover. And take cover behind. Examples include windows, doors, columns, and overturned tables. Knights on opposite sides of defensible terrain and within 1 inch of each other are considered in base contact. Defensible terrain provides cover. Difficult terrain, doors. We can now have elevation as well. When climbing, knights are placed at the top of the elevation level. If a knight falls from elevation, they take damage equal to the elevation level. That, like pushing somebody off something. Like we've got bash to move people, right? So you could bash somebody off a 3 inch tall terrain. That would kill them, right? Explosive terrain. Gaps or chasms in the ground that you have to jump over. More information on page XXX. Hazardous, inspiring. ladder, obstruction, scalable, spooky. So this is like tags for terrain, I guess. Throwable. There's throwable. Throwable features are small objects knights can throw as a ranged attack. There are two types of throwable objects, small and large. They are hazardous. When a knight performs the item action while in base contact with one of these objects, they pick up the item and launch it toward an enemy, initiating a ranged attack clash test. That kind of sounds like the Iliad. You know, they throw rocks around all the time in that poem. Homer likes throwing rocks. So we saw the table when we were doing table talk. There was like how many people died by rocks in that poem. It was a lot. So you could do something like that. Hazard, throwing objects, elevation. Elevation terrain with a scalable feature can be climbed. To climb, a knight must be in base contact with the elevation terrain and use a walk action. After climbing, place the knight on top of the terrain within 1 inch horizontally of their starting position. If that's not possible, the knight cannot climb. Knights can only climb a single elevation per climb action unless they are climbing on a ladder. Stray says, can I throw my wounded friend behind cover? If there's an enemy at the top of the elevation terrain within 1 inch horizontally of the climbing knight, I guess this is like defending walls and things. So we got the ladder that allows you to go up. The climb will be opposed. So I guess like a castle wall is height 3. So if you're thrown off that, then you're going to die. But you can climb all the way up it on a ladder. Within 1 inch horizontally of the climbing knight, the climb will be opposed with a clash test, and the clash test is required. The climbing knight is the attacker. The opposing knight is the defender. The attacker may spend momentum, and the defender chooses a defense as normal. If the attacker wins, the climbing knight is placed on the top of the elevated terrain. If necessary, the enemy knights are moved to make room for the attacker's base. This move cannot result in hazard tests. If the defender wins, the attacker remains in their position, and the defender applies the effect of their own chosen defense. Oh, look, there's hazards in falling. It is possible for knights to fall from elevated terrain. Free at the edge of elevation terrain is hazardous. If a knight base makes contact with the edge of elevated terrain when they are bashed, they must roll on the hazard table. On a 2 to 4 result, the knight falls over the edge. Place the knight on the base of the elevated terrain and apply the elevation level as damage. On a 1 result, place the knight at the base of the elevated terrain piece and apply the elevation level as damage plus 1 additional damage. So like I did just pass by that. So here's the hazard. The hazards are dangerous terrain features. Individual terrain pieces can have both safe and hazardous areas, like a tower with exposed edges where the top is elevated terrain, but the edges are hazards. There are many hazards in the game, and they damage knights that are bashed into them. It's more maneuver and I like that. So assigning hazard level and taking hazard damage. The danger of a hazard is based on how much damage it can cause, typically 1, 2, or 3 points, each defined by the scenario or set by you during the terrain setup. For example, hazard 1 deals 1 damage. A knight can take damage from a hazard when they are bashed into it. When this happens, stop the knight just before they would make contact with the hazard or fall off the edge. The knight then attempts to regain their footing, represented by a roll on the hazard table. If a knight rolls poorly, they'll move into the hazard. This table functions like an armor table, but reflects the knight's ability to protect themselves from environmental harm rather than an attack. So 5 to 6, you regain your footing before the danger. Phew, close one. No hazard damage is applied. 2 to 4, you slam into the hazard. Ouch, hazard damage is applied as normal. 1, you flipped onto the hazard. A gruesome spectacle. Hazard damage plus an additional 1 is applied. Gaps. Knights only jump across gaps using run actions. Gaps greater than 3 inches cannot be crossed by jumping. Okay, so I was wondering how you jump. So you don't have to test that, but as long as you run, you can jump up to 3 inches. Defensible terrain. Terrain suggestions. playing a game. Scenarios, tournaments. So, okay, so all these down here are scenarios. Okay, so I guess we did go through it. Oh, here's nightly quests. The Metal King summons. Quest progression. Knight promotion. Okay. In addition to learning their names, each named knight is now eligible for promotions. Well, okay. So, quest nightly progression. They can advance their careers by building reputation, earning a name. Knights can earn a name for themselves in the battlefield by performing heroic actions and deeds. In game terms, these are known as achievements. When the knight earns one during play, they are noticed by their peers and may become the subject of grand battlefield tales. After each battle, you may select a single knight that earned achievement and learn their name. Page XX for more information on what takes place between games. So, named knights are the special characters forming your order. When a knight becomes named, write their name down on the knightly register. Named knights earn special points known as stat points to distribute during the game. Named knights also gain renown. The battlefield is perilous, and a knight's story can end suddenly. When rolling on the armor table, any knight who receives a pierced result and exceeds their damage limit is not only removed from play, but is gruesomely slain. The gruesomely slain table describes the manner of their death. The slain knight is removed from your knight register, and their journal has come to an end. 3 points to endure, to distribute among endurance. Endurance points add to your damage limit. Agility points are spent to add 2 points to move actions. Bravery points are spent to increase your courage test roll. Strength passive. Strength points raise the range of pierced armor table results by 1 when defenders are rolling on their armor table. Oh, that's nice. Destiny active. Destiny points are spent to add to your armor table rolls. Okay. Novitiates are 0 to 2 experience. Named knights gain 1 experience for each scene they appeared in the previous battle. Scenarios can offer knights other ways to earn experience. Promotions. Veteran has 3 experience. They gain a 4th stat point and may choose either to gain a skill or an ability die. Sir, 7 experience. Lord, 12 experience. Gruesome death experience bonus. Any named knight that inflicts a gruesome death during the previous battle will earn an additional experience. Skilled at certain types of fighting, achieving renown. Organizing. I didn't see anything about facing. We're asked about facing. I didn't see that. After the battle. After each quest battle, you and your opponent form the following steps together. Roll for spoils of war, hold a feast, manage. There's also much more than to fighting here. Hold a feast. Named knights. Managing knights. Here's your gruesome death table. The table describes the manner in which gruesome slain knights came to their end. The named knights is removed from your knight register. Their journey has come to an end. Left leg. The knight's left leg is swiftly dismembered or brutally crushed. 2, right leg. The knight's right leg is swiftly dismembered or brutally crushed. Torso, roll again. The knight's stomach is opened or brutally bludgeoned. 4+, the knight's heart is stabbed through or brutally crushed. Left arm, headshot. Headshot, right, left arm, right arm, headshot. The knight is decapitated or brutally crushed. Here is our knight register right here. Knight cards, if you prefer to use the cards, which I think are also separate downloads. Well, we can send art feedback. I could post it on the subreddit. So I did post, if you're on Reddit, I posted in the miniature skirmishes if you want to write stuff down about the stream. And then contact right here. Okay. Mike says, like many skirmish games, there's a development system. Like many skirmish games, there's a development system so that I think it's a benefit for campaigns. I could see a GM'd game with knights facing orcs and going on a quest to save a town or something. And it sounds like you could do that. Yeah. All right. Well, all right. We went long today, but that's okay. I'm glad we didn't stop and try to restart this one. So that is our first impressions and general read through of how to play Greathelm, which is going to come to Kickstarter. So check it out. Post in the Reddits and on the Reddit thread if you like. I'm out of here for now. I'm going to work on my Kickstarter. See you later, everybody. Go forth, be creative, and be constructive. Later.